Chapter 1, SAP VBA Automation Learns from Errors. Welcome back. In this video, I will show how a simple unit of measure validation test evolved into a major enhancement of my SAP VBA Automation Framework. What started as a routine test eventually revealed a hidden weakness, caused an SAP session crash, and led to a more robust solution. Chapter 2, The Challenge. My objective was very simple. I wanted to test whether the framework could detect and properly handle an invalid unit of measure before a reservation was created. To do this, I deliberately introduced bad input data. Instead of supplying the correct stock keeping unit, I supplied a unit that SAP could not convert. Chapter 3, Framework Before Enhancement. Before this enhancement, the framework already contains several important capabilities. It could automate MB21 reservations. It could automate MIGO goods issues. It could validate stock availability. It could identify special stock situations. And it could learn from historical failures using the dynamic no-go matrix. However, unit of measure validation had not yet been tested. Chapter 4, Creating the Test Scenario. To create a controlled test, I intentionally modified the unit of measure. The objective was not to create a successful reservation. The objective was to force SAP into a known error condition and observe the behavior of the framework. This type of controlled failure testing is extremely useful when building reliable automation. Chapter 5, SAP Rejects the Reservation. As expected, SAP immediately detected the problem. The reservation could not be created because the supplied unit of measure was not compatible with the stock keeping unit. At this point the test was behaving exactly as expected. The important question was whether the framework would handle the exception correctly. Chapter 6, Preventive Validation Triggered. The framework successfully captured the SAP message. It automatically classified the issue. It updated Excel. It generated evidence. And it stopped the transaction from progressing further. This is exactly the purpose of preventive validation. Instead of allowing bad data to continue downstream, the issue is intercepted immediately. Chapter 7, Unexpected SAP Crash. At this point I expected the test to be complete. The validation had worked. The exception had been captured. The evidence had been generated. But something unexpected happened. SAP crashed. The business problem had already been solved. Now we had a technical problem to investigate. Chapter 8, Investigation begins. The first assumption was that the unit of measure logic was causing the problem. However, further testing showed that the validation logic itself was working correctly. The framework was successfully identifying the error and documenting it. The crash was happening afterwards. That meant the root cause was somewhere else. Chapter 9, Root Cause Found. After tracing the execution flow, the answer became clear. The framework correctly detected the error. However, execution continued beyond the validation block. The automation was still attempting to execute normal reservation processing even though SAP had already rejected the transaction. The framework and SAP were no longer synchronized. This eventually destabilized the SAP session. Chapter 10, The Fix. The solution turned out to be very simple. After handling the unit of measure exception, I inserted an exit substatement. This ensured that execution stopped immediately after the validation was completed. No additional reservation processing could occur. No conflicting SAP commands could be executed. Sometimes the most important fixes involve only a single line of code. Chapter 11, Successful Retest. After implementing the fix, I executed the same test again. SAP rejected the invalid unit of measure exactly as before. The framework captured the exception. Excel was updated. Evidence was generated. And most importantly, SAP remained completely stable. The validation test was now fully successful. Chapter 12, Framework Evolution. This enhancement represents more than a simple validation. The framework is gradually evolving into a layered architecture. Layer 1 focuses on preventive validation. Layer 2 handles transaction automation. Layer 3 captures intelligence, learns from failures, and prevents future mistakes. This moves the solution beyond scripting and closer to SAP operations intelligence. Chapter 13, Future Enhancements. The next logical step is to expand preventive validation further. Future scenarios include invalid cost center, invalid plant, invalid storage location, invalid movement type. Each new validation strengthens the framework and reduces operational risk. The long-term objective is simple. Build automation that not only executes transactions but also learns from experience and prevents future errors automatically. Thank you for watching. If you work with SAP Automation, SAP GUI scripting, Excel VBA, or SAP Process Intelligence, Please consider subscribing and following the continued evolution of this framework.